Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, children with operating systems who understand some of this stuff better than I do. It's a very high-tech version of today's Equity.Guru investor roundtable, talking about verses. That is spelled VERSES, and they will, in days, be IPOing on the NEO exchange, their initial public offering under VERS. Complex, but not necessarily when you look at close look at some of their product lines. And Chris,
it's fucking brutal is what it is. It's complex as complex can be. The average investor is going to really struggle looking at the Versus website. Worth mentioning VERSES, not SUS. That was a different company.
Yep.
And if you search Versus on Google, you're going to get a lot of Bible stuff. So don't do that. Versus.io is the website. Look, I try and crystallize this in as small a possible way as I can. Imagine you run Ford, and right now, in order to put a car together, you've got a factory to run that requires hundreds, thousands even of auto parts from different manufacturers. Those manufacturers have supply chains for their ingredients. They might have rubber coming from Brazil. They might have chips coming from Taiwan. And any one of those things that doesn't show up when it's supposed to, your factory stops. You've also got your dealerships that have to be told when to expect the finished product. And hey, if it's going to be on special this month, and what sort of advertising is going to go out. Running that company requires thousands of people on the phone all day going, Eduardo, I know it's 6 a.m. Please wake up. We need to know if the tires are getting here. You've got cruise ships, you've got airplane containers, you've got trucks. There's a whole lot of data that right now is one way. Right? There's a guy watching the trucks, and he's got a little GPS system that says the truck is delayed. And that guy's got, who have I got to call to tell him that the truck full of tires is delayed? Okay, so fast forward to a world where 5G exists, and we've got a whole lot more internet bandwidth shooting all over the place, so we can have data sensors on everything. So we have a data sensor down at the mine that tells you how much ore is coming up. At the mill that tells you how much metals are coming out. You've got your rubber guy who's got data all over his factory and out on the farm. You've got drones flying out, figuring out whether your farm is growing properly. Fast forward to the cruise ships. Fast forward to the production line. A production line is a million things by itself that are all going and hopefully working in harmony. But whether or not they do relies on this. It shouldn't. It should be automatic. So what Versus is doing is basically putting sensors on every goddamn thing. And I use goddamn knowing that there are people probably looking for Bible verses that found this video. They're putting sensors on everything. So every car, every truck, every ship, every box, every expensive part is being monitored and watched as it comes through. Now, at this time in the world where supply chain issues are crazy and logistics are broken all over the world, this makes more sense than ever. It's more important than ever. You can't have a 6-month wait to get your vehicle because you can't get chips out of Thailand, right? So we're at a place now where this is not only possible to have one system that monitors it all, Lord of the Rings style, but also necessary, because what we've seen is that you get a cruise ship stuck up halfway up the Panama Canal, the entire world stops and inflation goes out of control, and I can't get a bike for my damn kid for 16 months. So to me, if you can understand what Versus is doing, then it lights your head up as an investment opportunity. The trouble is understanding it, because it is a complex thing. The people that have written the white paper on how this works are the people running this company. So it's not just a group of brokers who threw together an RTO. These guys have been in business since 2018. They wrote the book on this stuff. And when it comes out, the timing is bad because it's a down market, but the timing is good because the down market is because Versus doesn't exist in the world yet.
Right. Yeah. And a good example of one of their products they already have, it's an application called Wayfinder. It builds a 3-dimensional model of facilities so that people can go through and efficiently sort and find and deliver. That's just one of the many things they're doing. Yeah, now, Galen had an opportunity to hear from Gabriel Rene, Gabe, the CEO, when he was talking to Jody Vance, First Glance with Jody Vance, which is also on the website. It can kind of give us a bigger picture thing. These guys, he's a serious dude with some serious aspirations, right, Galen?
Absolutely. Gabriel has been involved with AI since the early 90s, not just sort of in AI. He was part of advanced research, the movement. So he got to see where the world was heading long before most of us even knew that there was a smartphone happening. So it's an interesting world for him. They see this convergence of all these technologies. It's not that this stuff doesn't exist. It's not that these AI programs don't exist. It's not that this Internet of Things doesn't exist, but none of it has been amalgamated where it actually speaks to each other. So as Chris said, you've got a bunch of broken links in these supply chain checks that can't be covered unless some dude's on a phone phoning you at 3 a.m. to say something ain't showing up. With this stuff, it puts it all on a dashboard in front of your face, lets you know all the way down. It communicates with that supplier that's bringing the rubber out of Thailand or wherever else it happens to be getting it, that you will know immediately on that part of the chain before waiting for that truck that should have shown up yesterday with your tires. So you're well informed of where your items are, what you can do about your business, and it just makes business itself run much better. The nice thing about this as well is it also offers an opportunity for all these myriad of different programs that we see coming into play, like Alexa and all this other kinds of stuff. It can offer an opportunity for us to bring it all together, just like they did with the first internet. Suddenly it's something that we can all use. So these guys are going to make it easier, not just on the industrial front, but also for you and me walking down the street. And soon all of us will be able to take advantage of this product. They're on the forefront. They really are on the cutting edge of what's going on in this. And they're going to bring about the maturation of this Web 3.0 that we all have heard so much about, but so rarely understand. And no doubt because most of the people that are talking about it don't understand it themselves.
Including Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, yeah. He's one of the biggest offenders.
All right. Okay. Let me pretend to be a human in the non-human space.
Versus is VERSES. They have their initial public offering coming up on the NEO exchange in Canada under the symbol VERS. And their little catchphrase to summarize what these guys have been talking about is connecting the digital and physical worlds. So it's multi-dimensional data. No chart yet, but you have related information, Vishal.
Yeah, for sure, Rob. And, I think Chris did a great job. And Galen here talking about the smart supply chain, smart warehouse. Rob, you mentioned the Wayfinder. And I think they do a good job, showing this in their videos about putting sensors on everything and optimizing the path and the efficiency of workers. And you can see them using the technology there. So I think, sometimes a picture here is worth 1,000 words. So take a look at this. Really interesting technology, really interesting stuff. But again, Chris explained it really well there. In terms of IPOs, you guys sort of know how I am with IPOs. I'm not someone that likes to play IPOs on that first day. I'm someone that likes to wait a couple of weeks maybe to see some price levels form. Obviously, if you're an early investor, you love it, right? Because usually those IPOs start off with a bang. We're going to take a look at a few of the tech IPOs. I know that's been the topic lately, but I have Robinhood here. I have Roblox here. I have Rivian. I have Lyft. I guess you can even add in Coinbase because all the charts look quite similar where they started off with an initial pop. And, the tech space is getting hit quite a lot right now just because of the way tech works, right? They're generally growth stocks. So when interest rates are going higher, it tends to get money out of more riskier assets and back into safe assets such as bonds. So usually the tech space, it sees a bit of a hit when there's an interest rate cycle and rates are rising. However, as you can see from these charts here, it looks like a lot of the tech stuff here is beginning to base or bottom here as well. So I'm quite interested to see how the versus IPO plays out or pans out, especially if some of these tech stocks are now beginning to bounce. And obviously, we can take a look at the NASDAQ and the broader market to see what's happening there. But my play is still just to wait for some levels to form. And then have those chart levels, work with breakouts or breakdowns, and look for entries after a few weeks of price action, seeing how much volume is going to be traded and whatnot. Now, obviously, long term, great technology, and I think that's what you want to invest in when, well, usually that's what people are investing in when they're investing in growth stocks, right? Because they expect this to be groundbreaking technology. So I think where the market is at right now, just on a technical basis, it's a very interesting area, especially you guys all remember when we had those crazy tech IPOs where every week there was a big company coming out with an IPO and, tech IPOs were popping and then eventually selling off. But interesting time in the market, and you can see there's actually a few more big tech IPOs that are going to be coming out this year, including Reddit, Discord, Instachart, Mobileye, etc. So, that's the way I would play tech. IPO tech. Wait for that initial trade offering, and then see what levels are developed. Give it a few weeks or days. I prefer weeks for a few levels to develop, and then build your case from there.
As you mentioned, you talk about long-term investment, and as Galen mentioned, these guys have been in it since it started in terms of artificial intelligence. Their aspirations are something else. Like they have global plans for 2023 with their Cosm product. They're planning on competing with Apple iOS and Google Android, and there's a lot going on there. They're based in the Netherlands, in Los Angeles, and then investment interests in Canada, and like the drone, Chris's thing that he was talking about, organizing things. They're doing that for drone flights in Europe. So they're coordinating that whole system. Pretty amazing stuff. As Vishal has already covered from his angle, Chris, since we don't have, I'll give you $7,500, but you don't have a stock to buy yet. So what is your IPO strategy?
Much like Vishal, I don't like jumping in on an IPO the first day. It's a sucker's game. You're basically playing roulette at that point. I like to give it a couple of days, see how it lands. I think if I look at a company like Coho Collective that just went out a week and a bit ago, not a lot of marketing with it, an interesting business model, well cashed. And that thing shook up and down for a couple of days like a seismic graph. So, now it's settled into a point where you know what you're actually going to be looking forward to. I think probably much the same with Versus is I wouldn't jump in on the first day. I know that the company would love it if everyone did, but reality is someone's going to overpay, someone's going to underpay, someone's going to sell stock that they shouldn't, someone's going to buy stock that they shouldn't. 2 days in, now you start to get a sense of where it is, and that'll be the time to buy in. That said, if it gets a market discount because of where tech stocks are right now, and it drops a little bit, I'd be real tempted to throw that whole $7,500 on there and let it ride. Because look, here's the thing: is if these guys just decided, this is a technology and we're going to go in on it, that's one thing. Now you're competing with everyone else in the world. They made the technology, right? Like they wrote the white paper on this technology. And if they get a company like, let's say, an Amazon to jump in and they put their systems in place, you know how hard it is to untangle that system once it's been applied? Like once you're in on a company, they're stuck with you unless you do something really crazy dumb. So every single client that they manage to sign, every single person or every single group that licenses their tech, it's just money. Right. And it's money that's ongoing. It's not money where you're like, we're going to sell $1 million to this guy here and $2 million to that guy there. And next month we got to go find another guy. It's every sale that they get, their monthly recurring revenue is going to jump and jump and jump. You look at crypto and say it's a Ponzi scheme. It is in its current iteration, but it still has uses. And those uses will extend into logistics. They'll extend into a whole range of things, and provide an ability for the things that Versus is offering to work better. So I think they're exposed to a whole lot of places that are really interesting for the next 5, 10, 20 years. And I think that there are 1 or 2 deals that they could do that could escalate them to the stratosphere. No promises. And look, they lost $2 million last year in setting all of this up, and about 1.8 million the year before in setting up before that. So there's nothing to say they won't lose money this year. And maybe it takes them a little time to commercialize what they've built, but it's going to happen. And I don't have any doubt about it. And talking to these guys, they're as tech nerd geniusy as they come. Take my money.
Mr. Galen, day of, or you're waiting?
I've never been impressed with IPOs, especially tech IPOs over the last 20, 30 years, because they've all been ridiculous playing on suckers. Anything that Vishal just showed us in terms of graphs is, I think, criminal. I'm hoping that people are beginning to realize that when these things come out of the gate, you're not going to pay for what their value might be 30 years down the road. You're going to buy what they have to offer today. So hopefully this will reverse the graph from being a hockey stick going down to a hockey stick going up. If they come onto the market like they should in a rational way, yeah, fuck, I'll dump in. They've got a real good idea. They've made it work, and they're the ones that made it. And quite honestly, for much of what we're doing today, it's a necessary service. And forgive me for saying this, it's not like cryptocurrency and blockchain to a certain extent in search of a problem, a solution in search of a problem. These things need to happen, and they need to be able to talk to each other, and we can't exist without these services. So to have them all in one place at one time so you can see it all happening before you is a wonderful thing. So, you know what? If it comes in nice and looks like it's reasonable, I'm going to throw 7,500 in. And as an investor, long term, I'm not going to look at it again for the next 5 years, unless they do something really fucking dumb. Then I'll pull it out. But I want to see what they do, and I'm going to let them do it.
Nice. Michelle, you kind of covered your angle. Anything more specific?
Yeah, I'm just going to wait for a few weeks or days, see how the price settles. Chris did mention Coho Collective Kitchens. Something like this is a possibility where we're, after a few days, we are now maybe potentially going to see a range. So I would just wait for a little bit, see how the technicals that lay out, because to me, it indicates sort of a psychology, right? Price psychology. And I'm sure a lot of people who did get in early are probably wanting to make some money, take some profit. So I would just let the price settle down for a bit. Both, Chris and Galen mentioned long-term, and I totally agree with them that one contract or two contracts, which could make it big. And Rob, you sort of alluded to this with the European Union and the multi-city drone project. So there's a lot of catalysts that are upcoming. And I think just getting past that crazy IPO, the initial IPO days, I'm just going to wait for some sort of settlement of the price before I throw in my money.
All right, and coming up is the IPO, and it'll be VERS on the NEO exchange. The company is Versus, VERSES, under Gabe Renee. And again, you can see him with Jody Vance, First Glance with Jody Vance on our website as we speak. Pretty cool stuff. You can hear from the man himself. We didn't really offer you any specific advice because there is no stock chart at this moment. But we'll still let you know you should do your own research, please, before you listen to us. Do some diligence, and you can do that at verses.io, versus.io. Cool stuff. The future right in front of our faces on this edition of the Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.
I hope anyone understands.